What if the silence in the universe isn't the absence of life? What if it's a strategy? What if every civilization smart enough to survive has learned the exact same lesson? The moment you announce you exist, you become a target. This is the dark forest theory, and it doesn't just explain why we haven't heard from anyone. It explains why we might not want to be heard either. We've spent 2 videos exploring why the universe is so quiet. The Fermi paradox asked the question. The Great Filter offered one grim explanation, that almost nothing survives long enough to be heard. But there's another theory, one that doesn't assume civilizations die. It assumes they're hiding. The idea comes from an unlikely source, not a physicist, but a science fiction author. In Liu Cixin's novel, The Three-Body Problem, a character lays out a chilling model of how civilizations across the universe might actually behave. It's built on just 2 assumptions. First, every civilization's #1 priority is survival. Not curiosity, not connection. Survival above everything else. Second, no civilization can ever be certain whether another civilization is friendly. That's it. 2 simple rules. And from those 2 rules alone, something disturbing follows. Let's walk through why these 2 simple rules lead somewhere so dark. Imagine you're a civilization capable of reaching the stars. You detect a signal from another world. What do? You can't ask them their intentions. You can't negotiate. You can't even be sure how much time has passed since they sent the message. It might be centuries old by the time it reaches you, meaning the civilization that sent it could be nothing like what it once was. And even if you could somehow communicate, there's a deeper problem. Technology doesn't stay still. A civilization only slightly more advanced than another might as well be infinitely more advanced. The gap between primitive tools and world-ending weapons on a cosmic timescale can be crossed in what amounts to an evolutionary blink. So here's the dilemma. If you reach out to another civilization, you're gambling on one of 2 outcomes. Either they're friendly, and in which case, wonderful, you've made contact, or they're not. And once they know where you are, there may be nothing stopping them from deciding you're a threat worth eliminating before you become a threat to them. This is called the chain of suspicion. It doesn't require anyone to be evil. It doesn't require malice at all. It only requires uncertainty. Because even a civilization that means no harm has to consider, what if the other side assumes we mean harm? And acts first? The safest assumption in a universe where you can't verify anyone's intentions isn't trust. It's silence. Picture the universe as a dark forest at night. Every civilization is a hunter, moving quietly through the trees. Resources are limited. No one knows who else is out there. And every hunter shares the same 2 instincts. Survive and assume every other hunter might be dangerous. In a forest like this, what's the smartest way to behave? You don't build a fire and shout to see who's around. Because if there's another hunter nearby, one better armed, more desperate, or simply more cautious than you, that fire doesn't invite friendship. It invites an arrow in the dark before you even know they were there. So you move without sound. You extinguish anything that glows. You become invisible on purpose. Not because you're hostile. Because in a forest full of hunters you can't identify, silence is the only strategy that keeps you alive long enough to matter. Now scale that logic up. Not to a forest, but to a galaxy. Every star you can see might be hiding a civilization following this exact same rule, not because they're monsters, not because they want to hurt anyone. Because reaching out first in a universe with no way to verify intentions is the single most dangerous thing a civilization can do. Under this theory, the universe isn't empty, It's full of civilizations, all following the same cold logic, all choosing independently to stay exactly as quiet as we've been hearing. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If every rational civilization in the universe has learned to stay silent, what does that make the ones who haven't? Here's the uncomfortable part. If the dark forest theory is right, humanity may have already broken the one rule that keeps a civilization safe. Since the 1930s, Earth has been leaking radio signals into space, television broadcasts, radar, radio waves. Every transmission we've ever sent has been bleeding outward, unfiltered at the speed of light. A growing bubble of noise announcing exactly where we are. We didn't do this deliberately. It was simply a side effect of inventing radio technology. Nobody sat down and decided to advertise Earth's location to the rest of the universe. But in 1974, we did something even more direct. Scientists at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico deliberately aimed a radio signal at a star cluster 25,000 light-years away. It contained basic information about humanity, our numbers, our DNA, our solar system's location. It was meant as a demonstration of technology, a message sent more as a proof of concept than a real attempt at contact, since anyone receiving it wouldn't hear back for tens of thousands of years. At the time, it felt harmless, a curiosity, a greeting card tossed into an ocean so vast that no one seriously expected anyone to receive it, let alone respond. But under the dark forest theory, this is exactly the kind of mistake that could end everything. We don't know who might have heard it. We don't know how far our radio leakage has already traveled, or who's had decades or centuries to notice. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. If the dark forest theory is correct, we would have no warning. A civilization detecting us wouldn't announce itself first. It wouldn't negotiate. It wouldn't give us a chance to explain ourselves. The safest move, under this exact logic, is silence, followed by elimination, quiet and final, before the threat has a chance to grow. Which means if someone out there has already decided we're a risk, we wouldn't see it coming. We'd simply stop being here. So where does that leave us? 3 videos into the series, and every explanation for the universe's silence has led somewhere darker than the last. Maybe we're early, and the silence is simply patience. Maybe there's a great filter, and the silence is proof that almost nothing survives long enough to be heard. Or maybe, and this is the possibility that should unsettle you the most, the silence isn't emptiness at all. Maybe it's discipline. Maybe every civilization that reaches our level of technology eventually learns the same lesson, that the universe rewards the quiet and punishes the loud. And maybe we already broke that rule decades ago without understanding what we were risking. There is no way to take back a radio signal already traveling through space. There is no way to unring that bell. All we can do now is what every hunter in the dark forest eventually has to do. Wait, listen, and hope that whoever heard us decided we weren't worth the arrow. But if the universe really is this dangerous, this quiet, this full of hidden hunters, why did one signal, decades ago, break every rule of the forest and never get a response at all? Next time, we're looking at the wow signal. The one moment in history when it seemed like someone, somewhere, actually answered back.